right, welcome back, everybody. My name's Joe Daraskovich. If you don't remember from the first episode, but we're here for our second episode now of our tens part series, our podcast series. I'm joined again by Catherine Neal, and today's topic is leveraging Chat GPT for medical practice management. Pretty important topic, Laura Catherine. What are we going to be talking about here today?
So today we're really going to dig into, if you will, kind of discovering how we can use ChatGPT to kind of revolutionize, if you will, your medical practice management. Today we're going to kind of explore some innovative ways that you can streamline your operations and kind of enhance your patient care by using AI.
That's going to be great. And like I said last episode, I've have a little bit of experience with ChatGPT, just putting in basic prompts and letting it kind of get the juices flowing, whether it's writing an email or whatever it may be. But as I also said in the first episode, I don't claim to be an expert, so we're gonna get going. How Let's talk about the basics. Let's talk about ChatGPT and just the very dipping your toe in the shallow end of ChatGPT.
Sure. So one of the things that's really nice about ChatGPT and how it's kind of evolved over time, just in the basic format of what it can do outside of the new GPTs that have now been edited, where you can do Pixar characters and you can do really cool stuff, which I've played around with some of that. I have a Pixar character of myself that I may show in a later episode. But it really offers some solutions because it helps you automate content creation. And so it frees you up, frees your staff up for more critical tasks that are really important. And one of the things that's really a pain point in medical practices, right, is that content creation really consumes a lot of staff time. And it reduces efficiencies in medical practices and in some cases creates inconsistencies in terms of how you're presenting information either to your staff, to your physicians, to your patient population, or to the broader world, right? And so one of those things that ChatGPT can be an assister for is kind of overcoming that pain point and leveraging it for the good that it was built for.
And another thing, I like that you brought up, staff taking time and staff, putting a lot of thought into different things and kind of getting those creative juices flowing. We're not saying, we're downsizing staff. We're just making staff more productive and making, offering these tools that are out there that are available for people to use. And as we mentioned in the previous episode, we're going to be starting with some free things that you can do without even, opening your wallet, and it'll be a nice, a refreshing way to get some more work done and be more productive within the office space, within the doctor's office, within all these different circles that we're going to be in. So yeah, it's an exciting thing to talk about ChatGPT and enhancing patient education materials.
Yeah, so that's like the first thing we could think about, right? So one of the things that staff spend a lot of time on is either sourcing those kind of education materials. They will buy them from a vendor, which can be costly for a practice depending upon the specialty. They will try just leverage what's canned already in their existing EMR systems or practice management systems. But ChatGPT gives you the ability to kind of really nuance the specifics that you want. For example, there's condition specific handouts that you can develop where you're tailoring information for specific medical conditions that your patient population sees all the time. You can customize it based on reading level. You can look at the complexity of the things that you say. One of the things that patients always struggle with is the jargon we use in healthcare, right? And so ChatGPT can kind of help you lessen the complexity and make it a little bit more user friendly. You can also use it for multilingual content. You can develop it first and then ask ChatGPT, okay, now translate this into Spanish, translate it into Vietnamese, translate it into Serbian, whatever the patient population is, or even on the fly based upon a patient that's coming in the door that you may not have dealt with before, so that you're really engaging in that patient experience in their native language, which is really beneficial, cuts down on misinformation. And then also it's a great way for you to ensure medical accuracy in terms of what your organization is consistently putting out to a patient. So it's really nice because ChatGPT can give you ways to design that, give you ideas on what to say. And then with some of the newer GPTs, plus some things you're going to learn in episode 3, here's a teaser, you can make it really nice and attractive as well, make it visually appealing as well as informative.
Well, that's a great point. Just patient interaction, just interaction with the public, interaction with people who might not be medical professionals. There's so many things that, as a regular civilian talking to my doctor, sometimes things just go over my head, and ChatGPT can kind of, I don't want to say dumb it down for people, but it can speak the different languages that the different people are used to. So sometimes doctors can talk quickly in acronyms and talk about, abbreviations and things like that. And ChatGPT is just a way to kind of talk to people how they like to be talked to.
Yep,
And
level the playing field. Mhm.
yeah, well, Laura, Catherine, let's move on and talk a little bit more about some office policies and procedures and some things like that ChatGPT can be extremely helpful with.
Yeah, so one, you can generate templates, like kind of standard templates, forms, things like that are easy. You can use it for common office policies to make things effective. Here's how you use the time clock. Here's how you do this. Here's your standard information on bloodborne pathogen, the things that everybody needs to know to do well. And one of my favorites is procedure adaptation. So what I mean by that, I mean like you can take existing documentation that you develop. We just talked about patient education. So let's say that you're dealing with a patient who had a shoulder repair, right? They had rotator cuff surgery, and you have kind of standard information that you share with them, but maybe you might need to modify it based on a different device that was used, a different treatment protocol that's used. So it allows you to kind of adapt those templates of here's the standard, here's the nuances that become patient specific, which is great because it feels more like intentional healthcare towards a singular patient. It's a great way for you to also generate all of the things that you have to be compliant for HIPAA, to be compliant for OSHA, and to deal with quality control. I mean, I've worked in a couple of different things related to different practice specialties, and every specialty has nuances that once you standardize things, it takes that lift off, but then it's also easy to update. And that's the importance of leveraging this for policy and procedure documentation because it's easy for you to update. And then people leave, people come, people go, you have new hires, you have easier things that you can input into, onboarding, hiring, those kind of things.
Yeah, that HIPAA example is tremendous just because, look, go back 20 years ago, people probably just were pulling their hair out. Is this in compliance with HIPAA? Is this something that, I need to be worried about? Or, am I doing the right thing? And ChatGPT can just kind of be that guide, that helpful tool that makes sure you're in compliance. You don't want to do anything that is stepping on the wrong toes. And then let's talk about social media strategy. I mean, we're all on social media. We talked in the last episode about there's no age requirement for AI. I know grandparents are interacting with their grandchildren on social media. Offices are interacting with their patients on social media. It's part of our lives now, social media. And how does ChatGPT kind of fit into that puzzle with social media?
Well, let's be candid. Most of us are not social media designers, right?
Right,
That's
right.
that's not our expertise. And whether you're the front desk person, the check-in person, or you're that practice administrator, it's not something that's in your wheelhouse naturally, right? It could be. You could love social media, but it may not be something that comes natural. So one of the things that, again, with the templatizing that you have the ability to do in ChatGPT, you can also couple it with, again, who we're going to talk about in week 3 and episode 3, you can actually create customized different content. You can even have GPT design a schedule for you, which is my favorite, where you can say, hey, I want to do a 10 series podcast on AI. What should I consider? And ChatGPT will come down and give you a list of what you should do. If you use, oh, it's a diabetes month, right? We want to celebrate diabetes. We want to put a high focus on diabetics and their care. So what can we plan out from a social media content perspective to address diabetics in our patient population? You can use it for health campaigns, for specific diagnoses. You can use it for engagement tactics to be able to boost your viewership so people know your practice is there. If you're about to go open another site, and people are going to go somewhere else, it's another opportunity for it to help you design those announcements and get that stuff out there. Many organizations are leveraging LinkedIn. They're definitely using Instagram. They're definitely using Facebook pages, and who has time to be the cookie, is what I like to say, the magic on designing all this. When you have AI tools that can do it and do it well, that aren't going to cause you challenges. And I am not a great picture taker. I am the world's worst. Almost every picture that's ever taken of me, I think my eyes are closed. And so this is a way to leverage really good canned stock stuff that's available for free in order to do that in an easy platform, which again, we'll talk about in episode 3 in terms of how we partner what we learned from ChatGPT to build these social media strategies and then make it look fantastic.
Yeah, and I love that example of coming up with a 10-part podcast series. I just want everyone to know we are both humans. We're not. This isn't AI generated. We're talking to each other, but it is very helpful when you have a big project like that. When you are saying, "Hey, we're going to be recording 10 episodes. We need to have a framework in place. We need to, you know." Come up with what the content is going to look
Mhm.
like. ChatGPT is extremely helpful with something like that. So this is
Absolutely.
for our benefit. It's a handy tool to use. But think about it when you're planning on you've got a whole new crop of doctors come in, and if you're working with residents or a whole new shift of people, and you say, hey, I've got to kind of walk these people through every step of the way, ChatGPT can kind of pave that path for you and kind of help you get to that end goal. So it's a good tongue-in-cheek thing that we are both humans, but we work with AI on a daily basis to kind of get these things happening.
For sure.
Let's talk email communications though. That's something
Oh,
that
huge.
yeah, I email all the time, and it's sometimes it's just a two word email, just yep, sounds good, or whatever. Sometimes you really want to craft those emails and make them look exactly a certain way.
Mhm.
How can you utilize ChatGPT when it comes to emails?
So there's always some good things. The first thing you want to remember though is to like who's the audience, who's the recipient on the other side of this email, right? And sometimes when those 1, 2 word emails come across, people can take it a certain kind of way too, right? And then also to previous things we've said before about making sure that we're really getting things in a way to the audience that they're going to understand. So couple things that we've done in the past where we've used ChatGPT to design what our automatic patient reminder should say as an effort to reduce no-shows, for example, for appointments, right? Another one is to streamline internal communications for pre-made templates like, okay, here's the policy for vacation. Here's the policy. Oh, snow days. Half the country had snow days in the last couple of weeks, right? What are we doing for the office? How are we communicating out to our patients that the office is closed for snow and they should stay home as well, right? Don't get on the roads. Or we have a new doctor who's joining. We'd love to have you meet him. Here's a meet and greet. Or we have a lunch and learn coming up that we're going to do, or something like that. Another one is newsletters. A lot of times organizations are now putting together newsletters. And so ChatGPT can help you also create engaging content in regular patient newsletters or patient outreaches or design your your text messaging that goes out. But again, caution, caution. All of this needs to be under the guidelines of compliance, making sure you're following HIPAA, making sure that you're meeting the right tone, and also taking into consideration regulatory requirements, right? So there always needs to be a review, kind of an approval process. I like to call it a compliance list, which we'll talk about near the end of today's episode to kind of make sure that you're not really going outside the boundaries, but you're leveraging this in a way that is streamlining that. Another thing that I love about ChatGPT is I can take an email that I've written and then I can put it in there and say, can you rephrase this to be more empathetic? Can you rephrase this to be more explanatory? I tend to be a very concise speaker and a very concise writer, but I love to tell stories when I'm in person. So it's kind of a balance that I have to deal with my own personality. And the thing that I love about ChatGPT is if I design an email and I'm like, that may not be perceived well, I can go out there minus any kind of identifying data or anything that could be challenging in the email. And I can say, can you rephrase this to be more explanatory? Can you rephrase this towards an audience of X? And ChatGPT will give me some examples. And if I don't like what it wrote, I can just click the retry button and it'll give me a different choice. So I love that about the written communication because it does give you a way to kind of streamline things to where it's on a better receiving end of the audience who's going to be the recipient of what you're sending written wise. And then it also kind of helps you learn too about how you can communicate better because of like, oh yeah, I probably could start saying that in the future. And now it becomes part of the normal way you write. So it's a
Yeah, and
really great tool.
I love that idea about the streamlining newsletters and things like that. And being a former newspaper journalist, I kind of think of everything kind of in terms of that. And we're not saying cut back on the newsletters or, get rid of them, but it just, you take a different hat, so if you use ChatGPT to help kind of streamline these newsletters, you go from being more of a reporter to being more of an editor, and you're just making sure, hey, is all the information I want in here? Is this conveying exactly what we want the newsletter to convey? Just making sure that you're reviewing thoroughly and making sure that it's kind of getting the message that you want to get out there. The other thing I wanted to say too is those brief emails that I talked about. You can also have the long-winded emails that, someone gets that and it says, "Hey, I'm busy. I've got 50 emails in my inbox. I don't have time to read 10 paragraphs about one little thing." So
Yeah.
ChatGPT can, condense that down and keep the bullets in there for people as well.
I would say that's probably one of the most paramount things, if you will, because that I do have some direct reports who are very verbose, is the word I like to use. And it's like, I've actually used it as a counseling opportunity to say, hey, in the future, I'm one of those, I need exactly what you need me to do in the first two sentences. And then you can give me the details. And they've learned that that's the way I like to receive communication. And so now I've taught them to leverage ChatGPT, as long as it doesn't have proprietary information in it, to take what you want to say and then ask it to condense it down into two paragraphs or more or less, because when I'm reporting up to executives, they don't want to read all that either, right? So
Right.
taking that Elon Musk approach, if you will, if it's not adding value, don't do it, right?
Right.
And so it can help with that, and I love that facet.
Cool. And that's another thing I was kind of thinking about too, is it's like, and I'm just asking a question. You can tell me if it's right or wrong, but say you get a long email from someone where we all appreciate people being thorough and people, giving you all the information. Can you take that long email and put it into ChatGPT and say, "Hey, can you pull out some of the, the top important things so I don't have to comb through this whole email?" Is that something we could be doing?
So I'm a little embarrassed, but I do that all the time.
Don't be embarrassed.
I I have some coworkers that they are very long-winded. And then I also get a lot of detail in too. I get a lot of educational material sent to me. I get a lot of written articles sent to me. And one of the great features about ChatGPT is you can even take that, attach an entire PDF of an article, attach it to ChatGPT, and say, summarize this for me in 6 bullets or less. And it'll read the whole thing and then give you basically the meat of all the potatoes that are on there. And I love that because it's a time-saving technique as well. Physicians could really leverage this, right? You get journal articles, you get the AMA journal, you get a lot of journal articles that are coming in, and it's like, do they have a lot of bandwidth to sit down and read a 27-page white paper that somebody published in a journal? No, they have a curiosity about it. So depending upon how much they want out of it, they could design a prompt and upload that article to ChatGPT and say, in 500 words or less, I would like you to give me a summary of this article, or pull out the key treatment plans from this article, and it will pull that for you in the matter of less than a minute, versus you spending 2 hours reading an article. So I love it. Does it replace the need to read? No, of course not. But it does give you kind of an idea of what you can prioritize in terms of what you want to do. And this is great in any aspect. I do it to scan resumes. I say, here's the job description. Here's the resume that was received. Show me where the gaps are between what their experience is and what this job description is. So that actually reinforces and educates my hiring process, because now I can focus the interview on the things I need to know, because the other stuff's already been covered.
Yeah. And don't feel embarrassed about utilizing AI. It's a tool that we can be using. So that's the kind of thing that I just want to make sure people are getting those little nuggets and realizing that, doctors don't have the time to
Yeah.
to dig into those deep topics. All right, speaking of time though, we're trying to keep these brief. So Laura
Yeah.
Catherine, let's bring this episode in for a landing. Let's talk about some implementation tips and kind of wrap a bow on this episode, and we'll have more next time.
I think it kind of falls down in a couple of categories, similar to what we talked about in episode 1, right? First, prompt engineering. So the success you gain out of leveraging a tool like ChatGPT or any of its other sister partners that do kind of the same thing is prompt engineering, mastering those basics of what am I going to ask it to do, or what do I need it to provide? And I have some great samples in some documents we're going to have with the show notes today that can kind of help with that. Another thing is verification of workloads. You can actually use ChatGPT to go through your process and say, where are the gaps? What are we missing? What do we need to add? What can we take out to streamline things? Because sometimes we get so attached to the way we do things that sometimes we can't see efficiencies that could be had. Content review, we just talked about extensively, right? Implement it, use it for reviewing procedures for accuracy, reviewing all kinds of different things. And then, of course, how can you leverage this from a return on investment perspective? How much time do you gain back in the day? How many step reducing items happen from these practices? So all of those are great ways to kind of do that. Now, to really wrap things up, what do I recommend? Go sign up for ChatGPT today. And in the show notes, I have the link on how you can do it to the free app. And the other thing is, really consider what is the best use of your time to dabble in this. What is a pain point that you're experiencing? Where are you seeing time? I don't like to use the word suck, but we say time suck in your day. What are the things that you're spending a tremendous amount of time on that something like this could do a time reducer? And then also, stay in touch for next episode, because in the next episode we're going to leverage how we use ChatGPT prompts and use Canva, which is a great design tool to make newsletters, to make social media posts, to create those social media posts after you've asked ChatGPT to give you a series and a calendar. And so I really want to encourage you to consider those pieces together. And then today in the show notes, you're going to have not only just the way to connect to ChatGPT, but you're also going to have some sample prompts that I've already provided for you in terms of kind of playing around with ChatGPT to get your feet wet, if you will. And then I also have a compliance checklist as well, in terms of these are the things you should think about or you should consider if you're going to dabble in any of these areas, like email or doing training materials or building a newsletter. What do you need to think about in the space of healthcare when you're using these tools?
Well, and I just want to say too that we're kind of being strategic about releasing these episodes. So if you're watching in real time, week by week and waiting for the next episode to kind of come out, that gives you a little bit of a chance to go out and utilize these tools. Go try them out. Go give them a shot, and then when you come back for the next episode, you'll have their thoughts in place, and you'll kind of be ready to go to the next step. So I just want to say this is another great episode, and I've really enjoyed our time together. And I can't wait to record the next one. But let's take a little pause. We'll get back together in a couple weeks, and we'll do more great things. So Laura Catherine, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. And like we said, the show notes will be available for every episode, and hopefully people can dig in and utilize these things we're talking about basically in real time. So yeah, any last thoughts?
No, I appreciate the time. It was a lot of fun, and I look forward to sharing episode 3 when we talk about Canva.
It's going to be great. I also have a little experience with Canva, but I've been learning on the fly. So I'm just taking the ride with everyone else with this podcast series. It's been fun. So all right, until next time, Laura Catherine.
See ya.